We're going to jump into Oklahoma State, TCU, which on any other big week would be huge because we don't know a lot about the Oklahoma State Cowboys even today. I'm Mike Sherman, and you're joining us. If you are joining us right now, it's the Football Friday Hangout on News OK, here with OSU beat writer Gina, Mizell, columnist Jenni Carlson, OU beat writer Jason Kersey, and columnist Berry Tramel. Let's talk about OSU. And I think I gave this question away, Gina, but are we there yet? Are we there yet when we know anything substantial about the Cowboys?
Well, I thought we knew a little bit more after the Iowa State game before the bombshell was dropped about J.W. Walsh's injury. So, if Wes Lunt returns, this week against TCU, then we might start to see what this team, would have looked like at the start of the season if Lunt hadn't gotten hurt. But obviously the wide receiving core is still banged up. Jeremy Smith is still banged up. So it's just these injuries and just other circumstances just haven't really allowed us to even see, this complete Oklahoma State team. And I think even if Lunt was going to be back this week anyway, the whole package with Walsh and how he was going to be involved in the offense before he had to be the starting quarterback, we're now never going to see that. So I think we're never going to see completely what this offense was supposed to be and supposed to look like. And so, obviously the defensive performance against Iowa State was very, very good last week, but Iowa State has a struggling offense. So this week's going to be a much stiffer test. And as we go into this stretch run of the season with TCU and then obviously K-State, West Virginia, Texas Tech, OU, and Baylor to end the season, this is where we're really going to figure out where this Oklahoma State team is as far as in the Big 12 pecking order.
Jenni, what are we going to know from Saturday?
Well, I think we're going to have a little bit better idea of where Oklahoma State is. The evidence is definitely more heavily leaning towards a team that's only marginally good. If you look at the losses, the close call at Kansas, there's a lot more of those games than what we saw last week against Iowa State. But if you start to link some of these better performances together, I think that is a good sign for the Cowboys. TCU is not among the elite in this conference. As Gina mentioned, that stretch of 4 games afterwards is really the test for Oklahoma State. But they do have a really solid defense, especially against the run. And with Oklahoma State a little up in the air offensively at quarterback, I think if you go out and play well, heck, if we see a similar type of game that we saw a week ago against Iowa State, to me, that's a really positive sign for Oklahoma State. If they could limit TCU and win by, double digits, I think that's a really positive step for Oklahoma State moving forward.
Hey, Berry, what do you make of the discrepancy between Mike Gundy and J.W. Walsh's dad's sort of recovery time for J.W.? Gundy said it's a season-ending injury. Walsh's dad seemed to say, well, I mean, if you did the math, there seems to be some room at the end of the season for him to play, but they seem pretty close. Is this a little much ado about nothing, or is there something there?
Yeah, I think it's probably just some fudging on both ends. It's pretty clear. I think JW could come back and play, especially in the bowl game. But I think Mike Gundy's message is, you know what, JW was excellent. We need him, but now he's hurt. And we'll go back to Wes Lunt. We were probably going back to Wes Lunt anyway. 3 to 5 weeks. If it's 5 weeks, as J.W. Walsh dad said, well, 5 weeks gets them through the through most of November, and they're looking at Bedlam anyway. So, we're nearing the end of the season at that point anyway. So some of it's semantics, and I don't put much stock in either one, really, frankly. If J.W. Walsh came out and quarterbacked the Cowboys on this Saturday, I would only be about 98% surprised.
What do we make or take from all these injuries that the Cowboys have had, Gina? Is there any trend to spot in the number of injuries, or should all the focus be on the impact and its impact on this season?
Well, I guess the only real trend would be that, Walsh and Lunt both suffered knee injuries, but, they were kind of on different types of plays where their knee kind of just got bent awkwardly, and and they were kind of hit by a defender near the ankles or on the leg, and a combination of kind of the helmet being there and just the way that the knee bent kind of created the injury. And I mean, I don't know if that's anything that you can foresee or prevent. I mean, I guess if both quarterbacks were wearing a brace, maybe that would have helped or something along those lines. But injuries happen; they just do. And you look at something like Oklahoma State's strength and conditioning staff and what Rob Glass does. I mean, he's regarded as one of the best in the country. So, to say that they aren't prepared physically to play football, I don't think that's correct. Or, you look at, their practice schedule and, they go, if anything, they go light to try to prevent injuries and to try to prevent that wear and tear and getting banged up during the week. So, I think at this point it's just bad luck. I mean, this didn't happen with this team to that extent last year. They did lose a couple of guys. They lost Jeremy Smith for a couple of games. They obviously lost Hubert Anium for the whole season in October to a broken foot. But they were just kind of able to sustain those type of blows a little bit better last year, where this year they're just, not as talented across the board, so the injuries show up. But Mike Gundy said a couple weeks ago that this was the most banged up his team has ever been, and that was before the J.W. Walsh injuries. So it's just been kind of a tough season in Stillwater with all the injuries that have happened.
Guys, we lost Jenni. I hope she'll be able to rejoin us here in a second, but I want to get you out of here with a tough sort of look-ahead question. I mean, there's a mountain of a story to look ahead over to get to Bedlam, but we're going to do it anyway. We got the OU Notre Dame game, but I want us to look ahead to Bedlam. Of course, we knew this was going to be a little bit of a question mark season for Oklahoma State anyway, with the Cowboys starting a true freshman at quarterback. It's gotten even more mysterious due to just the number of injuries they've faced and sort of the way things went bad in the desert. But I wonder, as you look ahead to the Bedlam game, what you think the stakes of this year's Bedlam game could be. Kansas State's in the big-time great position, having smeared West Virginia last week. Even if K-State loses one game, they have the head-to-head advantage over the Sooners. So the Big 12 championship really looks like, which was at stake last year, seems to be more of a mirage this year. What will this year's Bedlam game be about, Gina?
Well, I think that, you look at OU and they might be, fighting for a BCS bowl berth. If they've still only got that one loss, they would certainly be in contention, for an at-large BCS bowl berth. That's given the fact that Kansas State goes undefeated. If they don't go undefeated, then, perhaps there's Big 12 title implications for the Sooners. And for the Cowboys, I mean, as crazy as this sounds, they do control their Big 12 title destiny. Now, do I think they're going to win out? No, I don't. But that could be a situation where, they're fighting for bowl position, or even if things don't go well against Kansas State and West Virginia and Texas Tech, they could be fighting for a bowl berth at that point. So, obviously the stakes are going to be dramatically different than last year, but there will certainly, I believe, be key things on the line for both teams, but they kind of won't be the same type of goals as it was a year ago. Jason,
what's your crystal ball tell you about Bedlam this year?
Well, I think like Gina said, I think the stakes will be pretty high for OU if they get through Notre Dame this weekend, and then at that point, if Kansas State loses one game, you're right, they hold the head-to-head on OU. But if that one loss is Texas Tech tomorrow, then that's a three-way tie, and I think OU would be ranked the highest among those three teams. So they would be playing, I think, for the Big 12 title with that still on the line, or BCS bowl berth, or. But also, I think Oklahoma's playing for pride in that game too. I think they want to win after what happened last season in that game. That's a game I think that still sticks with them. But for Oklahoma State, I think it's a they're playing either for bowl position or bowl eligibility at that point. And Oklahoma State's proven that they can come into Norman even when they are outmatched talent-wise and win. They, it was a long time ago, but they did it in 2001, and that team was a lot worse than this OSU team.
Barry, I've got to apologize. I mean, the question in a lot of ways with OU Notre Dame right in front of us is preposterous, but I'm doing it to try to bring all my Football Friday friends under the same tent and give us a question to talk about. So tell me, what's Bedlam look like to you from here?
I think it's too early to tell. For crying out loud, here's the truth about the Big 12 football race. One of the two Bedlam schools controls its own destiny, and it's not the Sooners. So, if OSU wins out, they're going to the Fiesta Bowl. If OU wins out, we don't know what they're going to do. So, I think there's a good chance that the Sooners could be playing for high stakes. There's a chance that Oklahoma State could be fighting for its life, just getting bowl eligible. But it's also possible that the Sooners. I mean, if the Sooners lose to Notre Dame, we can quit talking about the big bowl and all that stuff, and probably quit talking about a Big 12 title, because Sooners, in some of these scenarios, the Sooners we're talking would win a BCS tiebreaker. If they lose to Notre Dame, they're not going to. So it's too early to tell, but it should be, it'll be a game of some stakes. And Jason's right. Because of what happened last year, the Cowboys have Oklahoma's attention again. I heard Dusty Dvorak and Teddy Lehman the week of the Texas game said that to them and the players they played with in the early part of this century, OSU was the bigger rival than Texas, because, they played right in the wheelhouse of OU's domination of Texas, but they also played those 2 years when Les Miles beat the Sooners 2 years in a row. So, Oklahoma State winning that Bedlam game last year has rejuvenated the rivalry, no doubt about it.
Jenni has joined us in apparently what appears to be a praying stance. I'm not sure if I don't want to interrupt that.
She's comatose.
She's comatose. She's gone, and she's gone. She didn't like that, Barry. You've offended her.
Yeah, maybe so. I offended somebody because unless I missed it, I can't get myself on the big board on this Google Hangout. I'm the one talking. I see J.K. McKay's picture.
You're on the big board right here. Right here in the studio, it's you on the big board. In spite of the fact that these Hangouts, sometimes with you, are like phone conversations with you, which is sometimes you stop talking, and I don't know if you're ever going to say anything again. And I'm not quite sure when it's going to end or begin.
You don't seem to have a problem filling up the airtime. I promise you that.
True that.
Thanks. Jenni, we asked about Bedlam, but seriously, we didn't get your Bedlam picks. In a score and a sentence, let's talk about OU Notre Dame. Let's get our OU Notre Dame picks in a score and a sentence. Jenni.
I pick OU 24-16. I just don't think Notre Dame's defense is going to be able to score enough for Notre Dame to win this game.
Jason.
I said OU 27-13. I think if Oklahoma gets off to a fast start in the first half, it's going to be hard for Notre Dame's offense to play from behind.
Gina, your OU and your OSU picks. Score in a sentence for each.
Okay, well, OU Notre Dame, I picked the Sooners 23-13. Like Jenni and Jason both said, I just think that, Notre Dame's offense won't be able to score enough, and I think OU's offense has enough firepower to win by double digits. And my OSU TCU score, I believe, was 28-24. I think it was something along those lines. I just like the Cowboys at home, even if there's a quarterback conundrum. I think West Lunt most likely will return, and I think between him coming back and Joseph Randall running the football, I think this team has enough to win a close one against the Horned Frogs.
Barry, picks with a sentence. Start with OSU.
I got OSU 34-30. It looks to me like this OSU offense can score no matter who's quarterbacking. Brandon Whedon, Wes Lunt, J.W. Walsh, Clint Shelf. I think they're going to be fine. Sooners 23-7. Both teams have excellent defenses. Only one team has a good offense.
Thanks, Barry. That's all for this edition of the Football Friday Hangout on News OK Live, but you can stay with the best coverage team anywhere. Every day at News OK and every morning in the Oklahoman. See you guys.